What's going on, guys? It is MurderInc here, back with another Raid Shadow Legends video. This is going to be my first video of 2021. I do wish you all a happy New Year's, and hopefully we can start this out with a bang. So as you probably saw from the title, we are going to be talking about the best Stage 20 Dragon team probably in the game. Now, this is obviously my opinion. Anytime you use the word best in a video like this is very hard to get away with, so let me give you some context on why I'm using the word best. This team takes a very small amount of gear to successfully and efficiently do. It does have a very high success rate. As a matter of fact, actually 100% success rate to be precise, and that's kind of where I'm getting the best idea from. This is not a speed team, and speed teams, while they are good, it really only focuses on kind of the end game players only. This is a team where if you have the champions, and I can tell you right now, there are no legendaries in this composition at all. Some of them are actually level 50, and I think a couple of them have 0 masteries at all. I'm going to show you the gear, but the first thing we're going to do is I'm actually going to show you what the composition actually looks like for this, and you'll kind of get a feel for what's going on here. There is going to be a part 2 in this video, kind of addressing some people who didn't really understand my video on Seer, because as you can probably see, Seer is a part of this team as well. So usually when I make a video like I did yesterday, I appeal to a certain audience and a certain issue to the audience, and instead of people actually taking a step back and processing the information, they get extremely emotional and they just head straight to the comments. And I personally love the comment section of YouTube. It's one of the reasons why I do it in the first place, but I feel like a lot of people are, I don't want to hold them 100% responsible. There are a lot of content creators who have kind of pushed this mentality onto people, and it's definitely hurting their judgment in this game as far as what can be done and what cannot be done. And when information's kind of shown to them, they kind of rule out any logic or reason and just look at specific things like quality of gear, and that's enough to kind of set them overboard. And I know a few people commented and said I'm unsubbing from you. For the future, guys, if you're unsubbing, you don't need to leave a comment. You can just do it. The point of this channel is to inform people who are, I don't know, I want to say on a higher intellect level and really help them progress the game. I've been doing this for almost a year now, so I am rather new, but what I've done has worked considerably and I've helped tons of people out. So there's always those few people who along the way don't understand something, and instead of trying to get an answer, they just kind of get really emotional, which is fine. In the future, just unsubscribe and don't leave a comment, because no one really, I don't want to say care, because I mean, I am going to say care. No one really cares if you're going to unsubscribe. Just do it. You don't have to leave a comment and explain all of these things. And let's get into the actual team here. So one big thing from yesterday's video is Seer was in OP gear and she wouldn't work with not OP gear, so I'm here to correct that because a lot of people don't really understand how Seer works. I'm going to show you why in this best Stage 20 Dragon team, why she works with 135% crit damage, 188 speed, 40,000 health. She's actually not wearing a helmet, she's not wearing a ring, she's not wearing a banner, and she is not wearing a shield. So she's missing 4 pieces of gear on this champion, and this is still 100% success rate. So we have Renegade here, the rare. We have War Maiden, the rare. We have Gorgorob, Mausoleum Mage at level 50. He is not masteried. And then finally Seer. So let's take a run through. We're going to do this at maybe not 1x speed, but let's just see how we can do with Seer here. Well, we'll do it at 1x speed for now. So with that little crit damage, she's actually one-shotting all of these Stage 20 waves. Now, this is what makes Seer so good, and this is something that no matter what kind of change happens to Seer, the bottom line effects of what her kit does will never be touched if there was any nerf. And I explained this pretty well in my last video, and yet some people still said don't nerf her, you're going to ruin it for free-to-play people. Just simply not the case, but this is the topic here. This team is extremely well-rounded. Now if you wanted to master all of these champions, you can put War Master on them. The times would be even faster here. Obviously, while the waves were very quickly, they cycled through rather well. The actual killing of the dragon is going to take the longest time here, and I don't believe there's going to be a situation with bad RNG with the team I have in front of you. if you do mastery them, even with the team unmasteried as I have them here, I don't think there's going to be any bad RNG where they actually do wipe. Now, you can swap lots of champions here. The only champion that is kind of crucial to this is in fact Seer. If you don't have her, there's really no replacement for this specific team, but it's still possible to do in the long run. So you can obviously use Arbiter instead of Gorgorob here. You can use Tayrel instead of War Maiden, and Mausoleum Mage. Pretty much anyone that provides you with a set of 3 buffs is going to do the job for you. There are quite a few champions that do that. Renegade, you can use Painkeeper. It won't be as efficient, but it will still get the job done. And as we can see here, we are losing some people. We do have a reviver on the team that is still alive. And as we saw, he did just revive there. So let's see how long it takes to actually kill this. Okay, so 1 minute and 51 seconds with champions and Seer's current quality of gear. I know I just showed you the stats. That's something you would probably use on your champions for like a stage 15 dungeon. So Seer's very crucial here because you can get away with literally no gear. I've even seen some clanmates use her without any gear, simply using her with certain masteries and certain team compositions where she can actually one-shot all of the waves, which is really, really cool. So these are the 5 champions that I highly recommend. If you have them, use them to your advantage. If you're leveling up in the game, look out for these champions. As soon as you get them, you actually will have a very consistent team to farm Dragon 20, and as everybody knows, Dragon 20 is probably where the majority of the player base spends most of their time farming. Once you move on to endgame, that's when you start looking at things like Fire Knight, but until then, Spider a little bit, Dragon more importantly for those core items of accuracy sets, lifesteal, stalwart, and speed sets. So now that I went over that, I will do a brief rundown of the gear I used on these champions. The gear doesn't really matter as much, but the total stats do. So as I explained earlier, no helm, no shield, no ring, and no banner here. Masteries, this is kind of the important part. Stoke to Fury doesn't matter because you're not using Gerptech anymore, but Helm Smasher is very important. It really adds a lot to this champion. And if you want to go the safer route, you're not too worried about one-shotting the waves, since most people at a stage 20 scenario are going to have more than 135% crit damage. There were actually a few comments that said, I only have 150% crit damage. If you have that, you can actually take War Master instead of Helm Smasher and still one-shot all of these stage 20 waves here. These are the masteries, the total stats. I know I already just showed you a few times. So the next champion we're going to talk about is Gorgorob. All you need for him, and there's no real speed tuning to this, it's another huge benefit. You don't need this amount of speed, that amount of speed. There's really no speed order, just all 4 champions have to go before your Seer, and that's it. And the only champion that goes after Seer is actually going to be Renegade, so she can reset everyone's cooldowns by the set number that is part of her skill kit. So if you're going to build Gorgorob, I highly recommend make him a bit tanky. Make him decently fast, not too crazy. He doesn't have to be 200 speed. I have him at 218 speed, nothing crazy there. But I would like defense and HP on something like the gloves, and the chest piece is probably a good idea, along with speed boots, and these stats are more than enough. I can definitely get it with much lower quality. His masteries are kind of set for arena, so I don't recommend copying this. If I were you guys, I would do something like defense tree and offense tree, something like that, giving him War Master, and you will get a faster time overall, even though the time's already pretty impressive as it is. For the next champion, we do have our Renegade here. She's pretty much wearing useless gear. She's not really meant to do much here. All you want is her at low speed, so she's going last, resetting the cooldown. I would highly recommend building her with HP and defense. So when you do finally get to the dragon, she survives long enough to actually reset one more time here. As far as masteries go, War Master is always the safe bet to go. And we have another set of masteries on War Maiden, using that War Master and the defensive tree. And her stats, pretty much accuracy, speed. She has way too much speed here. She's actually the fastest person on the team, which you definitely don't need at all. Like I said, you can drop her down to 200 speed. As long as she's faster than Renegade and Seer, this is going to work out fine for you. And finally, the last champion is Mausoleum Mage. He's in a shield set, so we get one more buff, and it's really important to utilize the buffs when you are dealing with someone like a Seer. So we have block debuff, increased crit rate, increased defense, and finally that shield buff. So that's 4 buffs to this one champion's, providing Seer for her damage each wave, which is going to be big. I did not need Masteries. If you want to level 60 this guy, throw on some Masteries. Like I said, it's just going to get faster from here. And this is kind of the reason why I call this the best Dragon 20 team, because minimal effort. You don't really have to use Masteries on everybody. It's a safe team. It does require a few champions, but no legendaries. You can plug and play up to 4 other different champions outside of Seer. She's the only one you need, as I said before. So that's what's kind of making me lean towards Seer being such a good champion. If you actually do need this wave clear in other dungeons, you can use this for Ice Golem, so on and so forth. Fire Knight, probably not. Once you get to the Fire Knight boss, you're obviously going to run into the shield, which is going to be a big problem, so you do need multi-hitters for that. But as far as Dragon goes, this is going to be the key Dragon team here. So let me know what you guys think. Hopefully I helped a ton of you with their teams. If you do have similar champions to these champions here, I recommend going pretty close to my build on Seer. Now I'm one-shotting the waves of the dungeons pretty healthily, meaning I can actually go down to, I believe it's 115% crit damage and still one-shot all of these waves with the current gear. And like I said, 115% crit damage is very, very low. Something that a player progressing in stage 13, 14, and 15 probably have. So this is very, very lenient gear that you can put on someone like a Seer and progress very, very well. Give me your feedback. Hopefully you guys will kind of shoot through Dragon now if you do have champions like this. Let me know what you think about Seer. And this kind of brings us to the point of the next part of the video. So if you enjoyed it, thank you so far. If you were here from the last video, now we can talk about a few things. There were a lot of comments that said you are using Seer with Battle, Tuck, and that's the reason why she seems OP to you. She doesn't need to be nerfed. And one of the first things I actually said in the video that most of the angry people whining in the comments actually missed is I talked about her being an uncapped damage character, meaning that she's very good in lower stages. However, she is too good based on how she scales with gear. So that was the thing that I said should be nerfed. And then we had all of these free-to-play players. Not that there's anything wrong with free-to-play. I help a ton of people that are free-to-play out, and I have a rather big following of free-to-play players in this channel. So a lot of things that people who aren't familiar with my content, and some who are, were saying is, you're going to kill this for free-to-play, and it just contradicts what I said in the video, so it made them look very stupid. And I went over on stream and I tried to be as nice as possible, but we are in the era of facts don't care about your feelings once again, and I'm here to make the game better for you guys, give you the information you need. And this is where I kind of brought in other content creators into the mix here. When you guys are showcasing gear and you are not using 100% crit rate, or you're using too little crit damage to do content and you're struggling through things, that kind of gives viewers a mentality and they don't really understand, so they can't process the type of video that I recently sent out about someone like a Seer. So the thing people said most often was, you can't do what I just showed you in this video, where run someone with ridiculously low crit damage, low stats all around. She doesn't scale with anything besides buffs. And they said you couldn't make a version of this that didn't have to do with someone like a Battle and a Tuck. Now from the start, like I said, that was never the point of that video. The point was showing you that how you can actually abuse Seer. And if you didn't see that video, I did up to a 1.8 million damage per target with this same Seer here, with much better gear obviously, and some champions that buff it. And this is what players are doing in the Doom Tower. And I'm going to say abuse because this is abusing a champion. No champion should scale that well from what we see here. As far as 135% crit damage, they get the job done. But when I can put 300% crit damage, and I know a lot of people say 1% of the player base can do that, it's actually quite a bit more. And someone even linked and said, one of the other content creators said only 1% of the player base is going to clear the Doom Tower. I can tell you for a fact that's wrong. A lot more people than you think can clear the hard Doom Tower. It's not as hard as people say. There might be people struggling with it, but this champion alone is the reason why more and more players are actually getting through all of this content way too quickly. So when I talk about a cap, the nerfs that should be done to this champion, and it's very easy to do this as far as how to actually nerf a champion like this, would only affect people who have her in extremely endgame gear. This would be enforcing some type of hard cap onto this champion. So pretty much 100% of the people complaining about this, the nerf wouldn't even affect them. So they were kind of like talking to a wall and arguing with the wall there, throwing a tantrum saying I'm unsubbing, which a lot of people on Twitch last night thought was very funny. But so the nerf wouldn't even affect them at all. So what they were trying to get across and say, oh, Murder, you've changed with your content, I thought it was kind of funny because they kind of just missed the whole point of the video, which is fine. And there's always the comments to say, oh, what a nice flex you did there. It's not a flex. I'm showing what a lot of people brought to my attention as being an issue for this champion and why this champion is such an issue in other content. And a lot of people have agreed. And for people who do watch me and enjoy my content, don't worry about the dislikes. I'm not someone who's going to be like, guys, why are you disliking my videos? Like, I work hard on them. I don't really care. The dislike mechanic is very good because I want to know if my video isn't liked by someone and why, as long as it's on the logical side. So dislikes and likes actually work the same way as far as pushing your video out there and getting more people to view it. I'm not sure why YouTube did that. There should be kind of a negative effect to a dislike, but there simply isn't. So all the people who were trying to, like, I don't know, damage the video in any way were actually helping me promote it. So I do appreciate that on your end. And this is kind of going to conclude what I wanted to talk about Seer in the last video and kind of responding to all of those, I want to say, ridiculous comments of people who just simply didn't understand what I was trying to explain. How there should be a harder cap on Seer because she scales way too well with really endgame gear. And that's pretty much the point I wanted to say. As far as early game, she's fantastic. Mid game, she's fantastic. None of that would be touched if there was a nerf, because if you have been playing this game for more than a day, you understand how scaling works with champions, and especially enemy max health champions. You cannot nerf a multiplier that's enemy max health. It just doesn't work that way. So I'm not really sure why people were like, this is going to kill free-to-play mid-game players. It just doesn't make sense if you think about it for more than 5 seconds. So that is my video for today. Hopefully you guys appreciate it and it cleared up a few things on Seer that a lot of people seem to be confused about in the comments. And as far as everyone's still watching for the beginning half of this video, once again, enjoy the team. Hopefully you can build it, and hopefully you have a lot more success going into 2021 with that account progression. Don't forget, if you enjoyed this content, smash that like button, subscribe, turn on the notification bells, and I will see you all in my next upload.